That day, on my way to the shelter to adopt a dog, I made a promise to myself. I will adopt a small, quiet dog. Because of the painful traumas I had experienced in the past, I was prejudiced against large dogs. A 45-pound giant Doberman would have been a complete nightmare for me. But as I left the shelter, I was holding the leash of the dog that everyone had thrown out onto the street 4 times, calling him a monster. I could never have guessed that the terrible secret that caused 4 different families to abandon him in horror would save our lives on a cold January night. Ghost had lived in the depths of that cold shelter for exactly 1,126 days. That was over 3 years of profound loneliness. 4 different families had adopted him, but all had returned him in the same panic. This dog constantly bares his teeth. He's aggressive. People had been fooled by his frightening appearance and the dangerous Doberman label. But no one had bothered to look beneath that tough exterior at his shattered heart. Ghost wasn't actually an aggressive dog. He was a frightened animal lost in the darkness who didn't know the language of love. When I approached his cage, he stood up. He pulled his lips back in that frightening gesture. He was showing me all his teeth. Everyone around me took a step back, but at that moment, I noticed an incredible detail that no one else saw. Right behind those terrifying teeth, Ghost's tail was wagging like a helicopter propeller. My heart broke at that moment. He wasn't attacking. He had been punished too much by his previous owners. He was smiling to say, "Please don't hurt me." I couldn't leave him alone in that darkness. It would have been a betrayal of my heart. The first few weeks were quite difficult for us. When we woke up in the morning, at mealtimes, even when the doorbell rang, we were met with that terrifying facial expression. Our neighbours constantly avoided us. Delivery people were afraid to enter the yard, but we never gave up on him. We never yelled at him. I spent several nights researching online. I learned that Ghost's condition was called the submissive grin. I discovered that it was a scientifically normal condition. Right after that, I took him to the vet for behavioural disorder treatment for a long time. Over time, that terrifying expression turned into the purest source of joy in our home, until that fateful Tuesday night. There was a deep silence in the house at night. Ghost suddenly burst into our bedroom. He wasn't barking at that moment. He was making a frantic, whimpering sound. When I opened my eyes, he was on the bed. He was baring his teeth again. His huge body seemed to have turned into a statue. It was as if sirens of helplessness were blaring. In that moment, when I couldn't understand what was happening, I smelled a sharp, pungent odour. The smell of natural gas filled the entire house. The gas valve on the water heater had burst, and the house had been quietly filling with gas for hours. Without even turning on the lights, we picked up Ghost and went outside. I will never forget the horror on the fire chief's face when the fire department arrived. If you hadn't noticed it a little earlier, you would never have woken up again. People think big dogs are always dangerous, but this terrible dog, shunned by society, saved our lives. How could we have known that the dog we adopted from the shelter would be our saviour? Never judge any living creature by its appearance. Try to see its heart. What do you think about this story? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.